Hello, I'm Angel, and this is Healthful Choices. I am on a mission to lose 80 pounds. And today we're out on my favorite trail, getting our steps in for the March Steps Challenge, and I'm going to answer your questions about Antarctica. What was your favorite thing that you did? The observation tube. That was amazing. It is a metal tube that goes through the sea ice, and there's windows at the bottom so that we can look around and see what's under there. It was a beautiful evening. We went out at about 9:30 at night. It was just so much fun. How many animals did you see? Animal life out there is super limited. I think I saw all of them. There are the seals. Mostly the females are what we would see. I can't say for sure, but that's what the scientists said, because they're the one that would come out on the ice and have their pups, and the males usually stay in the water or out a ways further. So we saw seals, saw seal pups, saw the skua, which is a bird, and it looks a little bit like a seagull, but it's really big. It's about the size of a bald eagle. And we had penguins. Saw some penguins. That was really, really cool. And whales. The Mika whales came into the sound first. They kind of followed the icebreaker, the polar star, when it came in, and they followed its little trail in. And then the killer whales came, the orcas. And the orcas were really excited about the penguins, and the penguins weren't as excited about the orcas. But that was about it. There isn't a whole lot else alive down there. Are you happy you went? Yes and no. So from an adventure standpoint, heck yeah. It was amazing. I can't believe that I got to see what I saw and experience what I got to experience. It was so incredible. I told you about the ob tube. I went on a hike out on the ice, the sea ice. I went up to the base of Mount Erebus on a snowmobile. I stood knee deep in ancient snow at the southernmost active volcano in the world. It was incredible. It was amazing. The air is so clean. There is no dust, no pollen, no pollution. The air is very dry, so there's no humidity. Very, very low humidity if there is any, because it's a desert. It's a snow desert, an ice desert, which is kind of weird. Every morning when I walked from my dorm to my work, I could see the Royal Society Range and Mount Discovery. And it's like 30 miles away from me, but it looks like it's just right there. Career-wise, it's sort of like give and take. I had to return to the field that the Air Force had trained me to do, which was fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It pays better than being a historian. But I'm a historian, and I missed it. And I'll talk more about that in another question. Was there anything hard about being so far away? Yeah, it was. Even though my husband and I have been apart from each other before, and I did all of the usual things. I got the power of attorneys in place. I, tried to think of things that I would need to get him paperwork for. There's always something, right? that doesn't get thought of, that happens. One of the things that did surprise me is that I expected communication to be a lot more difficult. I had access to a phone, so I was able to call. I was able to call my husband, and we called every week. I called him on Sundays. It was his Saturday, it was my Sunday. And that made things better. The internet was just as bad as they advertised. It was horrible. I could go on Facebook and Instagram as long as it was super early in the morning when everyone was still asleep, so usually super early Sunday morning, and then things wouldn't load. I would just, if you had uploaded a video, no matter how short it would just be a black screen for me. Sometimes I couldn't even see pictures. Still pictures wouldn't load if the resolution was too high. Stuff like that. So social media was kind of hit and miss. Email worked pretty well, especially my work email, my contractor email. So that was nice. I gave that to the spousal unit, and he and I were able to email every day. So that really was helpful. Mail was incredibly slow. It was even slower than I think they advertised, because I got back and the people that I worked with at the hospital were like, did you get our package? Did you get our package? And I was like, no. If it makes it down there before May, they'll forward it to me here. If it gets there after May, chances are good it's going to go back to the people who sent it to me, because it'll have to sit down there the entire winter. And then my card will expire. The forwarding card will expire. So that's too bad. Even a postcard. Someone sent me a postcard and asked me if I got it. Didn't even get a postcard. It's really, really bad. Really, really bad. The last piece of mail that I got was handed to me when I was in line checking my bags to get on the plane to leave, the day I was leaving. Yeah, and that had been sent in December. What is your favorite photo you took? What did you do for fun? There were all sorts of things people do, like the observation tube while it was open. Hiking is always an option. There are some trails that go out on the sea ice that would close, obviously when the sea ice got too thin and melted. Hiking Observation Hill was a really popular thing to do. Just being outside and going and seeing anytime the wildlife was doing anything. The seals were having pups next to, the shore, and people would be like, we gotta go see the seals. Like, people are extremely artistic. They had craft fairs. People would bring things, make them while they were there, and then sell them. We had science talks where a bunch of the different studies that are going on out there would come and present what they're hoping to learn, what they've learned. People gave talks about other adventures they've been on. Like, one of the helicopter pilots talked about flying in other countries. People talked about hiking the PCT. I was in a musical. There were a couple of people there who met on the way down, realized that they both had a theater background, decided that they wanted to write a musical, and they did, and they sent out a casting call, and I went and auditioned. Why they gave me a part, I have no idea. I think it's because I worked with both of them. I had one line, it was a singing line. My inspiration was the seagull from The Little Mermaid. It was because one of the directors was like, the worse it is, the better it is. And I leaned into it. There's gyms, people work out, people play basketball. And then of course, sometimes people just hang out and watch TV. We had the Armed Forces Network, so people were able to watch the World Cup, the Super Bowl. We had a radio station down there, so people would volunteer and be DJs or just talk for an hour or so on their show. There was plenty to do. What were your best and worst experiences? Okay, so I guess I'll go with worst first so that we can end on a high note. How's that? 2 things happened that made me really sad while I was gone. I made a friend on the way down. I spent about a week in Christchurch, which isn't normal. We were just delayed. So we get down to the ice and my friend ended up going home early. That was really difficult for me. 2 days later, I got an email, Armani died. So that was really hard. In between those 2 days, something really cool happened. the National Science Foundation approved my oral history project, which was focusing on women's history in Antarctica. I love doing the history and there wasn't a way for me to get down there on the grant or art program because those things have stopped due to COVID, and the focus right now is to get caught up on science that has been delayed because of COVID, which is fine, it's fair. It just meant that I wasn't going to be able to go down as a historian, or at least I didn't see a way that I would be able to go down as a historian. And that's why I went back to my old career field in order to be able to go down there. And then while I was there, I was like, I wonder if they'll approve a project as long as I'm here. I was really surprised how simple the process was. I thought for sure I was gonna have to like fill out all these forms, and you know, I'm dealing with people, so then I have to promise I'm not gonna like traumatize them or anything, right? But so I just sent an email to the public relations lady and was just like, hey, this is my idea, what do I have to do? Told her, you know, the questions that I wanted to ask. They weren't really questions, they were open-ended statements. Tell me about your life before Antarctica, that sort of thing. And then she sent me an email like 2 weeks later saying, yeah, approved. The NSF has approved your project. And I was like, what? That was easy. I didn't have to sign anything. I didn't have to, nothing. So I made up a release form for the participants and I rounded up some friends and I was like, here we go. Being able to be actively engaging in a project for history was one of the great things that I did down there. Of course, meeting the people was great, but through this project, I was able to really sit down and have conversations with these women that I wouldn't have otherwise had. I hope that you're having a great day and that you will have a successful week going forward.